Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm your host Ahmed Nawaz with the latest roundup of sports today. We begin with the Ashes that entered probably into one of the most historic eras for Test cricket when you talk about England and Australia. Australia won the second Test match as well. They now lead the series 2-0, 43 runs of a margin, but Ben Stokes' heroics were absolutely superb. You see character, you see resilience from a man in the world of cricket, and then you see Ben Stokes. Single-handedly tried to take the match away from Australia, was almost successful, but just that one loose shot, that's all a batter needs to get out. And he went back to the pavilion, scored a daring 150. Looked like it would be a repeat of last Ashes where he was single-handedly there to deny Australia that victory in that very famous Test match, but it was just not to be. And then, of course, the controversy surrounding Jonny Bairstow's stump, aka run out by Alex Carey. Some have called it against the spirit of play. Then the scuffle between members of the MCC and the Australian players in the ballroom as well. That was something that would probably go down in history as very, very disappointing for the world of cricket. Even MCC had to give a statement as well where they apologized to the Australian players. They said that they apologized in person as well, but it was something that has really spiced up the Ashes. And then Brendan McCullum also going to say that he wouldn't be sharing a drink with the Australian management or the players anytime sooner. Says all you need to know about the Ashes. So we'll discuss that in detail. And now, of course, with 3 Test matches remaining, can England stage one of the biggest comebacks ever in not just Ashes history but Test history as well? Only time will tell. You never know, but Test cricket has never been more exciting and more interesting. Then we move on to the World Cup qualifiers, where West Indies have been knocked out from a qualification for the World Cup 2023 in India. They lost to Scotland by 7 wickets in their latest encounter. Sri Lanka and Zimbabwe continue to dominate. 2 teams will qualify from the Super 6 stage. But, whether you see grief and disappointment on the faces of the West Indies player and the management, but it will certainly not change. Even Ian Bishop said you can change the captain, change the management, do whatever you can, but things aren't working. And I think a lot of that credit goes to poor fielding by the West Indies. That has been absolutely horrible. And imagining a World Cup without the West Indies, a white ball format, is something that we're all very disappointed to see in an ICC ODI World Cup in our lifetime. So I think we'll be discussing about that. But then credit to Zimbabwe with the cricket they're playing. Sean Williams scoring 100 after 100. Hassan Raza, had also commented on a private television platform where he called Zimbabwe to be the new team that would be surprising everyone. So I think you got to talk about that and everything in between as well. So we will see that in detail. And then, of course, we move on to Shaheen Shah Afridi, the Pakistan pacer, is making records himself in a match against Warwickshire. He's playing for Nottinghamshire and he took 4 wickets in the first over. He was absolutely superb. The first time ever this has happened in the history of the Vitality Blast. And then, of course, in another match, we saw that very first delivery Yorker again. So he's been absolutely superb before the World Cup. He's enjoying bowling. So we'll talk about that as well. Time now to discuss things in detail. First of all, in studios, we've been joined by sports expert Ali Mehdi. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam. I'm very well.
Great to have you on the show. We've also been joined by sports expert Ali Abbas. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, sir?
Walaikum salam, Ahmed. I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well as well. Your shirt often says a lot about you, and I think you're just trying to mock us today by wearing this shirt, but I guess that's where your allegiance lies.
Absolutely, you're spot on there, Ahmed.
Well, Ali Mehdi, first of all, we knew what the Ashes was going to bring. We knew baseball. We knew there was one team that can tackle baseball well. It will be the Australians. I'm going to come to that controversial bit afterwards, but first of all, credit to Australia, better side once again and won the Test match.
Look, we can talk about controversies, we can talk about, what happened in the match, we can talk about Ben Stokes, but look, first comes first, Australia won the match, they won it fair and square, and at the end of the day, they put on a really good performance yesterday. It's not easy going and playing against England, against this formidable team, but, I thought they were brilliant throughout the Test, One thing is for sure is that, they've had people who've stepped up. I thought Pat Cummins, the way he's led the team, the way he's actually led his troops, especially with bowling, they've done extremely well. I was looking at this one statistic yesterday that, all the fast bowlers actually took 3 wickets each. And let's not forget, for majority of this test match, they were playing with 10 men. I mean, Nathan Lyon has an injury to his leg. He's out for the series. He's out for the match. So he was effectively not there. So, you have to give a lot of credit to them. Stephen Smith, who has hit a brilliant 100 in the first innings too. And then in the second innings also, they batted very well. All round, I thought it was very spirited performance by England. But on the whole, Australia deserved to be the winners.
Right, Ali Abbas, Australia clearly had a strategy in their mind and they played to their strength. England were already going without a professional spinner in this test match. A lot had to be said about their batting, but Australia was clearly the favourite.
Ahmed, yeah, I mean, if you talk about England's record in Lords, it's never really been the best. So I'm not too surprised that they lost the game. But generally, there's a lot of criticism in terms of how they've conducted themselves in the first two matches, and I think that's a little harsh on England. If you look at the first test match, I believe England lost maybe only a couple of the sessions throughout the entire test match until the very last 20, 30, 40 minutes of the day when Pat Cummins and Nathan Lyon just took the match away. I think England was pretty much on top. So it's really sad to see how people are having a go at Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum for trying to be a little brave. Okay, fine. In this particular match in Lords, the better team won. We do get that. I think England's batting was suicidal at times, but so was a lot of stuff done by Australia. It was amazing. But generally, I think Australia were favourites only because it's in Lords, and I'm pretty confident England can still go on to win the next three matches.
Ali Mehdi, that would be probably one of the greatest comebacks ever in Test cricket history, not just the Ashes.
Look, if you talk about, coming back from a 2-0 deficit, Ahmed, everybody's saying written England off. Everybody's saying that the Ashes is gone, that England will have to wait for another 4 years. Reason being is because England are absolutely horrendous and horrible when it goes to down under. And, effectively all Australia need to do is just draw another test match and they're, the Ashes, they'll retain the Ashes. But look, this is Ben Stokes. He's been a great captain right now. His baseball has done extremely well till now. They've beaten each and every team. The only final frontier is to beat the Aussies. Should it be or be at home too? And I feel that, even though they lost the first two test matches, it was only down to a few sessions too. The first test match, I thought, they he really messed it up, especially on the first day when he decided to declare. And then also in the second test match too, he also made a mockery of it when, especially with the bowlers too. But the important thing over here is that he said yesterday that, look, he was asked about, can they still win the Ashes? He says, absolutely. They've done it twice this year. They did it when they went to Pakistan. For the first time, they went and whitewashed them in Pakistan. And then obviously last year, they did it to New Zealand. So there's no reason whether they can do it or not. The question is mentality, get their tactics right and go for the kill.
But what sort of tactics? Let me be very honest over here. They had one tactic, that was to play aggressive cricket. That didn't work for me at least, because the way Harry Brook has been getting out, and he's a man of caliber, I understand he's got runs that he can score, has been somewhat of a nonsense approach. But at the same time, you look at the character Ben Duckett has shown, which has really worked. So they could probably look, a guy like Ben Stokes can do this all day long. If you talk about baseball implementation example, it would be Ben Stokes because of the character he has. But for every player to do that is probably impossible in Test cricket.
Look, it's going to be very difficult. There's a 90%, 80% chance that they're not going to do it. But look, this England side can do it. First and foremost, I think that they need to make some changes. Anderson needs a rest. He's really not the bowler who's taken 650 plus wickets too. He's not getting his line right. He's just really whining, whinging, let's be honest about at the same time too. And he's not getting the sort of wickets and the support which England badly need him to get. At the same time, they should bring Chris Wood in. I think he's the one they need to bring that firepower to, and probably bring Moeen Ali back, because you need that spin, you need something, and you need that extra batter. I really think that they need that extra batter. I thought they had a long tail yesterday. Had they had that extra batsman, probably he could have supported Ben Stokes. So they need to make these changes, but at the same time, I think Ben Stokes really needs to calm down. Don't go over the top. Don't play extremely aggressive.
I wouldn't want him to calm down. I think that was super, but I agree with you. Had he not played that one shot that clearly made the difference, had he hung on for another 7 overs, I think England would have won the game.
No, but what about the other players? I mean, you think about those players like Ollie Pope, what has he done till now? Absolutely none. There's a lot of burden on him too. And Zach Crawley, you could say he got a difficult one. It is just one of those things, but he needs to perform too. Joe Root, when you needed him the most, he got a snorter too. But look, the one player who really needs to perform is Harry Brook. He needs to come out of his shell in the sense that he shouldn't play overly aggressive cricket, play in the moment, play according to how the ball is coming, and play on its merit. You can't just go, completely crazy on every single ball.
Absolutely. Ali Abbas, what do you think about this strategy from England? because clearly that would be the difference over here. Like I said, Ben Duckett tries to play textbook cricket, it works for him. Harry Brook tries it the other way, it doesn't work for him. So, England probably themselves are confused how to go about this.
I wouldn't be too hard on Harry Brook because I think he's been given the same role that Matthew Wade has in Australia, where it's his job to just take the game away from the other team. If you look at the way Matthew Wade plays, I mean, he's been in the team a long time, but he also at times gets out to awful, easy deliveries, playing some really awful stuff. I mean, his struggles against the short ball are pretty well documented. With that being said, I think Harry Brook has done enough over the last year or two to cement his place in the squad while getting out in that same fashion. I mean, he got out to a short ball in the previous innings, and I think Kevin Peterson made a pretty fair point that if you try to stop a ball which is coming at you short and you get caught right by the fielder standing next to the wicket, it seems okay. But if you try to go for a six and you get out, it seems worse. So I think Harry Brook can still maintain what he's doing. Oli Pope, a lot of criticism would be coming in his way. But I think one player who has cost English the first two test matches, rightly put by Ali Mehdi, is Jimmy Anderson. Stuart Broad has absolutely no support from the other end with a no ball. No support at all. I've been noticing Stuart Broad is bowling really well from one hand. He's building up all the pressure. And from the other end, Jimmy Anderson is bowling without any venom, without any fuel. I mean, he can complain all he wants to complain about the pitches. But that first day in Lords with the overcast conditions, the pitch was green, the wicket was green. Jimmy Anderson was absolutely nothing. He was no threat on that pitch, and I believe it's time for him to retire from Test cricket because he has definitely cost his team the Ashes with his performances in the first two Test matches.
Right, Ali Mehdi, clearly I agree with certain points over here as well. But this trick of bowling, Stuart Broad, I got a hand to him because he was the only person, and the way he was trying to take that sledging back to Australia by standing in his crease again and again, just trying to mock Alex Carey, was another thing that needs to be said. But let's now move on to something that probably everybody wants to hear. Your take on that run out, or stump, if you want to be more precise.
Oh, I mean, the world has gone crazy over the past 24 hours regarding that, that run out. Look, according to the law, it is out, no matter what happens. When you come to the spirit of the game, it doesn't set a good precedent, it doesn't set a good example. But when it comes to the law, it was absolutely out. Important thing over here is that the Australians the English keep on going about the spirit of the game. I mean, when have the English been a great example when it comes to the spirit of the game? Look, important thing over here is the Aussies over here. They don't really care about spirit of the game, this and that. They just want to win. They'll do everything absolutely to win. The English, on the other hand, they always talk about the spirit of the game, but we've seen it so many times before that the English they claim to live by the spirit of the game, but that isn't always the case. So look, it is at the end of the day, I know a lot of noise has been made about it, but it is out. And
Ali Mehdi, at the same time, home of cricket, there was an incident that took place in the long ballroom as well. A statement came out from the MCC that was also something that was against the spirit of cricket.
No, it was against the spirit of the game. This is Marylebone Cricket Club. I've had the honor of visiting this place, and it is a very prestigious club. I mean, this is where the rules are actually made for cricket too, and then implemented to the ICC too. So for them, the members, the prestigious members, to actually have a go at Usman Khawaja against the Aussies too, it's really, this is very, very serious stuff, because normally they are the ones who actually put the bar very high when it comes to ethical cricket.
Well, we've got a statement by the MCC as well that they've released on this entire issue. They said that they apologize to the Australian players, the fans. They also put out a statement on social media, the MCC, where they said that categorically they reject whatever has happened. This has never happened in the history of the game.
It hasn't.
And probably there would be I think legal action would be taken against the members, Ali Mehdi.
Look, I completely agree with you. Look, this MCC has come into being for the past 200 plus years. Lords was established way back in the 19th century, 1810, and ever since then the MCC has come. So in the history of the game, for the past 213 years, this has never come about. So this is this is very serious stuff too, and you have to live by a code of conduct. You have to go by ethics. Otherwise, you could lose your lifetime membership to the MCC Cricket Club. So I think this is something which needs to be addressed too, and you have to live by the spirit of the game too. These things happen; it's part and parcel of the game too. But you have to live with your dignity and honor, and that is something where I think went completely wrong, and that's why I think Usman Khwaja from the Australian cricket team was completely right to raise his voice, speak to the players, and then also put out a statement.
Absolutely. I think it's disappointing. It's bad for the game of cricket. Ali Abbas, what do you make of that stumping by Alex Carey? Probably you can on one side say that it is according to the law of cricket. The game of cricket gives that as an out. That's why the third umpire also made that decision. But then again, there's an argument of the spirit of the game.
No, I did not like that. I think it was bad with Johnny Bairstow what happened in terms of Alex Carey stumping. Generally, I mean, yeah, you can't complain. And the thing is, when an instance like this happens, you do expect a team to take the higher ground. But one thing needs to know that the Australian team, ever since the sandpaper scandal, they have the habit of just doing anything they need to win, which is why I don't really buy a lot of this good boy stuff on the field that takes place. Because when the going gets tough and in a situation like this, I can assure you, Alex Carey would not have done that if this was day two of a match against New Zealand in Auckland. It wouldn't have happened, right? It's because the stakes were high. He needed to get a wicket and he did whatever he could do. So the spirit of the game, I do agree with where England are coming from, but it's done. It's over. You don't want to have a drink. Brendan McCullum says he doesn't want to have a drink. He shouldn't. But it shouldn't have happened. It happened. It's time to move on. In terms of what happened in terms with the members, a part of me absolutely loves it. This is traditional Test cricket. This is England versus Australia. This is historical, and I think there was a lot to spice up this Test series. There was a lot of camaraderie against both the team within both the teams at the start of the tournament. At the start of this particular series, and I think we're going to have really heated, action-packed Test matches. And I think Ben Stokes is going to throw absolutely everything he has onto Australia. So a part of me feels like this is, in a very evil way, this is a good moment for Test cricket, and this is a really good moment for Ashes cricket.
I think it's a great advertisement.
Usman Khwaja particularly gave a statement. He said, if anyone asks me where the best place to play, I always say Lords. The crowd is great, particularly the members. And some of the stuff that was coming out of the members' mouth is really disappointing. I wasn't just going to stand by and cope with it. He said, I talked to a few of them. A few of them were throwing out some pretty big allegations. I called them up on it and said that it was your membership. So I'm just pointing them out, but it's pretty disrespectful, to be honest. I just expect a lot better from the members. Usman was one of the players who got involved, initially Ali Mehdi, and then it was David Warner. Both of them had to be pulled back by fellow teammates to go back to the pavilion.
And look, Usman Khwaja is a very calm and composed person over here. So for him to get riled up is a big thing. Let's not forget over here that, Usman Khwaja, he's gone through a lot over the past few years too. And it really he doesn't really get riled up very easily, but they really had a go at him. And because of that, he actually reacted too. And I think there's a threshold, and there's so much you can take, and that's why he actually had to speak with the MCC and their members too. So I think right now, and then David Warner, is a hothead over there.
He's probably waiting for this to happen.
He was waiting. He wanted this opportunity, and he's not going to let his best buddy actually be by himself over there. So look, this is something. I hope it's a one-off. It won't happen again. But one thing is for sure, it set a great precedence for the rest of the series, because I genuinely think, and I agree with Abbas, I think this is a great advertisement for Test cricket, and I do think England are going to now. England are up against it. They are against against the baptism of fire. They have to go for the kill, and I genuinely feel that even though they lost the first two Tests, if there's any team who can hit back, it's Ben Stokes England.
Big statement, but if it comes from Ali Mehdi, part of me would like to agree with it. I've known him over the years, and I think he tends to analyze the situation. And knowing the character of this English team, something is bound to happen in the next Test match, be it on the field or off the field. I don't know which way it goes. But now coming to the World Cup qualifiers, West Indies have been knocked out of World Cup qualification. It's a disappointing day for world cricket. They were beaten by Scotland in their latest encounter by 7 wickets. Ali Abbas, your thoughts on it? World Cup, white ball World Cup without the West Indies team.
I'm upset, but I'm not surprised, Ahmed. I'm sure you in the studio are also not surprised, especially with the condition the cricket board has been. And I wasn't surprised when they struggled in qualifying for the T20 World Cup, the previously held T20 World Cup, and I'm definitely not surprised that we don't have West Indies in the ODI format. and I personally don't expect them to come back for quite a while now. The state of the cricket board is shambolic. The fitness of the players is shambolic. The fielding was shambolic. Batting was somewhat good, but on pitches like those, you needed to be a team effort. And I think West Indies, it hurts me to say that I just don't see how they can be rescued from this spiral that they're falling into. And it's really upsetting. It's upsetting for cricket in general, especially with the heritage that they possess. But what's happening right now with the West Indies cricket team being one of the worst uh, standing teams amongst the associates is something that the ICC really needs to look at, because now it's West Indies. Tomorrow it might be South Africa. In a couple of years, 5 more years, will be something else. Instead of just focusing on the revenue and making cricket a one country dominated sport where other associates or other smaller nations are not looked into in terms of revenue, we're only going to have 5 to 6 teams generally playing cricket. So I hope we get out of this big three, big four, big one mindset and actually focus on other teams at cricket boards, because revenue is not distributed equally amongst cricket. It's not distributed equally amongst any other sports, but there is room for other teams to perform. I think in terms of what the West Indies did, the cricketing world, the cricketing fraternity, and the International Cricket Council has also let West Indies down, and they're just maybe the first team to have been affected by what's happening in cricket right now. I do feel that South Africa and maybe another team is going to follow suit pretty soon.
Right, definitely. Thank you very much, Ali Abbas, for joining us on the show. Thank you very much, Ali Mehdi, to you as well. Now we've been joined on Sports Extra by cricket commentator, broadcaster, presenter, and our cricket expert, K. Asif Ahmed. Asif, welcome to the show. First of all, I'd like you to comment on the Ashes. And as a commentator, what's your analysis of this latest controversy regarding this Alex Carey and Johnny Bairstow incident?
Well, thank you, Ahmed. To be very honest, that I'm not feeling happy. It's a very, very dejected moment for me, because this is not the first time. These are the Australians that they have started the sledging in the world of cricket. If you do remember what happened with Dennis Lillee and Javed Mirdad, even Javed Mirdad was so angry against Dennis Lillee, and I have spoken to him directly that what was the matter. Actually, he said that he was abusing me on that time, and not abusing me, but he was pushing me, and that's why I was so angry against Dennis Lillee. And don't forget that if you do remember what happened in the T20 World Cup in UAE, when in the semi-final of the T20 World Cup against Australia, when Mohammad Hafiz was mistakenly ball came out from his hand, and David Warner hit that ball for the six. I think that the Australians are lacking the sportsman spirit, and it's a gentleman game. If I've been on the place of Alex Carey, I wouldn't have done this act actually. You're a cricketer, Ahmed. You're a batter. You know that after the last delivery batter, they used to come out from the crease. And this is what happened, that he left that delivery. And if you have observed that moment, the way he left the delivery, he was just touched his right feet in the popping crease, and then he left the crease. So I think that I'm now happy. And Australia, you guys should learn the norms of game, that this is a gentleman game, and I don't appreciate.
Definitely. I think I'd agree with Asif on this one. Asif, particularly the West Indies has been knocked out of World Cup qualification. Your thoughts on this, because probably in our lifetimes this would be another very disappointing moment.
See, there's lots of bad news coming from the cricket, that once you talk about the West Indies top-notch side, as Ali Abbas was talking about the three best teams or the four best teams, it's all about that, the way the Windies board is behaving. Their players are performing so well in the international league. If we talk about the Caribbean Premier League, people are talking about now it's in the number 3 after IPL, PSL, now the Caribbean Premier League. But if you see their national side, they're not performing well. Lots of work need to be done. Do remember this: the same side, they have already won twice the T20, World Cup, the 50-over World Cup, and the T20 World Cup, and now even they haven't qualified for the ODI World Cup. Embarrassing.
Absolutely, it is indeed embarrassing. Thank you very much, K. Asif, for joining us on Sports Extra, and that wraps up the show from me and the entire team. It's goodbye for now.